Hi everyone. We'll start the presentation now. Just to give a quick introduction about myself, I am Raghav Jain. I'm one of the founders of Inverted Energy. Just to give a brief background about myself, I graduated from IIT Varanasi in 2009, and then I was an investment banker with JP Morgan in Singapore for about 3 years. Inverted Energy is started by me, Rahul, and Aditya. We were all batchmates together at IIT, and we were material science engineers. Because of some background that we had in solar, that's why we realized in 2017 that energy storage is probably going to be one of the largest opportunities in the 21st century. And that's why we started looking at it in further detail. In 2017, when we started, our primary focus was more on the utility side because we realized that with more and more renewable energy being integrated into the entire grid infrastructure, there would probably be greater need for some sort of storage which can stabilize the grid because of the intermittency posed by the integration of renewable energy. So over the last 2.5 years, we've spent a lot of time with utilities, right from power generators like an NTPC to a power transmitter like a PGCIL to various discoms, including Tata Power, BSES, and some of the state distribution companies, and to see that how exactly can we use energy storage to build more reliability into the grid. So we've worked on investment deferral applications, we've worked on frequency regulation applications, we've worked on uh, peak shaving, on load leveling, both on the demand side and on the supply side. But in our experience over the last 2.5 years, we've realized that this is probably a little far in the future, largely because of the high cost of energy storage. With this experience, we've also gotten to see some opportunities that have existed in other areas, and some of those opportunities are in electric vehicles. So we've seen that there is a huge upsurge in demand when it comes to electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So if you would have seen, you would have started seeing a lot of these electric rickshaws operating on the road. And this trend has obviously developed more in the last 5 years. And we've seen upwards of some 1.5 million electric rickshaws plying on the road. Uh, and slowly we've started seeing some demand in electric two-wheelers. So the objective of this seminar is to share some of these learnings that we've had over the last 2.5 years and share it with everybody so that we can help the industry grow together. I will hand over the mic to my colleague Saurabh, and he will walk you through the rest of the presentation. Saurabh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Raghav. Hi, everyone. My name is Saurabh. I'm the sales head for e-mobility vertically at Inverted. So I have joined Inverted in 2018. I'm also a graduate from IIT Bombay from 2010 batch. So as Raghav was mentioning, there is a shift now towards lithium batteries. So the earlier existing lead acid batteries are there for last 100 odd years. So why this shift is happening? So I'll tell you there are a few pain points that was not catered by the lead acid battery and why lithium batteries are superior. So I'll also cover the basics of lithium battery and how to build the best battery pack in this webinar. So Vishal, can you change the next slide? Yeah. Yeah. So now there is a shift that is happening towards lithium ion. So why this is happening is because lithium ion has a better technology. The cycle life is little quite higher than the lead acid batteries, and you can also communicate with these batteries and extract data that was not possible with the lead acid batteries. It gets charged very fast, and it's also non-hazardous with respect to lead acid batteries. So because of all these features, all these, the market is now expected to grow by a CAGR of 36%. So 36% is a big number. The e-commerce companies are growing at a rate of 15 odd percent. The IT companies are growing at a rate of 8 to 10%. So 36% is almost 3 times or 2 times in comparison to the other industries. So also the government is pushing a lot of lithium usage in electric vehicle industry. You must have heard of FAME2 subsidy. So government is giving incentivizing the use of lithium batteries in buses, three-wheelers, and the other applications. Gadkari ji has given a vision that by 2030, all the vehicles will be converted to electric. Although a lot of players like e-commerce players, Amazon, Flipkart, Ola, are investing a lot in lithium batteries because they think that there is a profitability there. It reduces their total cost of operations in the longer run. So with all this increase in demand, the production has also increased. And because of that, the prices of lithium batteries are coming down. So you can see a graph here. The prices are declining from 2017-18. In 2017-18, the price of 1 kWh was around $300. I'm talking about the cell price. And by 2022-23, we can see it will come down to $153 per kilowatt hour. So almost 50% of the cost will be reduced in next 2-3 years from 2017-18. So you can see because of the superiority in features, because of the price decline, the usage is also increasing. So in 2017-18, the lithium batteries were only 16% of the total market. Now it has increased to 45%, and by 22-23 2022-23, we will see that 66% of the market will be covered by lithium batteries only. So 2/3 of the batteries in the market will be of lithium only. So in short, the lithium batteries are the future. So in the next slide, I'll tell you about how to make a good lithium battery pack. And to start with, we will discuss what goes inside a battery pack. So what are the major components of a lithium battery pack? So there are 4 major components or categories, you can say, inside a pack. These are cell, BMS, electrical parameters, and structural parameters. So the first is cells. So cells are the primary and the most important component of the battery pack because it gives the power to our applications. A cell is composed of a cathode, an anode, electrolyte, and a separator. So different combinations of these cathode and anode make different kinds of cell chemistries like lithium ferrophosphate LFP or nickel manganese cobalt oxide NCM that you heard of very commonly. Now BMS. BMS is an electronic circuit that acts as the brain of the battery. It helps the battery to operate in safe volume, current and temperature ranges. So कोई भी abuse होने से बैटरी को रोक देता है BMS. पूरा कंट्रोल करता है कि कितना करंट होना चाहिए, कितना वोल्टेज जाना चाहिए. So everything is controlled by BMS here. Now comes the electrical parameters. Electrical parameters, there are a lot of small components like bus bars, wires that are very critical to make the right pack and giving the right optimal output. In the next slides, our colleague Vishal will tell you about how to select the right kind of components, so how we evaluate those parameters, everything. Now, structural parameters. In structural, we look into components like cell holders, casing, welding, etc. So these are also important to hold the components tight and make a sturdy pack. So बैटरी में केवल सेल्स नहीं होते. बहुत सारे लोग सोचते हैं बैटरी का मतलब है सेल्स आप पैक कर दीजिए एंड दैट्स ओवर. बट बहुत सारी छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो आज हम इस प्रेजेंटेशन में आपको बताएंगे कि किन किन चीजों का आपको ध्यान रखना पड़ता है. Now, so these are the major components. Now next slide. So what are the different cell chemistries available? So cell chemistries, there are multiple cell chemistries available, but यहाँ पे हम लोग discuss कर रहे हैं only the popular ones. So the 3 most popular. Hello. Yeah. So there are the 3 popular ones that we will discuss here. One is LFP, lithium ferrophosphate, NCM, lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide, and the LTO, lithium titanate oxide. So because of the different chemistries, these cells have different characteristics as well. So ये natural होता है, जो इनकी chemistry होती है उसके basis पे इनका natural characteristics आता है. So I will first explain the 2 main characteristics of a lithium cell. One is the capacity, another is the discharge rate. तो कैपेसिटी क्या होती है कि कितनी एनर्जी उस पर्टिकुलर सेल में है, एंड द डिस्चार्ज सी रेट क्या होता है कि किस रेट से आप उस एनर्जी को निकाल सकते हैं. तो मैं आपको एग्जांपल देके समझाता हूँ. सपोज एक सेल आपका एक 10 लीटर की बाल्टी है. तो 10 लीटर की बाल्टी है, तो 10 लीटर की बाल्टी आप समझ लीजिए कि आपकी एनर्जी हो गई कि आपको कितनी एनर्जी चाहिए अपने एप्लीकेशन में. और उसके बाद आता है सेकंड डिस्चार्ज सी रेट. अब आप इस में से पानी, इस बकेट से पानी कितने रेट से निकालना चाहते हैं. तो अगर आपका एप्लीकेशन बोलता है कि मुझे ये सारा पानी 1 घंटे में चाहिए, तो आप उसको आपकी 1C रेटिंग वाली सेल आप यूज करोगे. क्योंकि आपको 1 घंटे में पूरा चाहिए। अगर आपको चाहिए कि और तेजी से आपको आपकी पावर रिक्वायरमेंट ज़्यादा है और आपको ज़्यादा रेट से इस पानी को निकालना है, मतलब आपके एप्लीकेशन को ज़्यादा एनर्जी चाहिए, तो उसमें आप क्या करेंगे, आप 2C रेट वाली सेल ले लेंगे। तो 2C रेट वाली सेल आपकी क्या करेगी, इस पूरे पानी को आधे घंटे में निकाल देगी। तो आपके एप्लीकेशन की क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, उसके बेसिस पे हम सेल सेलेक्ट करते हैं। आपकी एप्लीकेशन की कितनी कैपेसिटी है, उस हिसाब से हम सेल सेलेक्ट करते हैं। तो these are the different things that you keep in mind while selecting the right kind of cells. So for example, LFP cells हैं, उसकी साइकिल लाइफ हाई होती है। सो 1800 से 2000 साइकिल लाइफ होती है। थर्मली बहुत स्टेबल होता है, स्पेसिफिक एनर्जी मॉडरेट होता है और डिस्चार्ज करंट भी मॉडरेट होता है। तो थोड़ा लो करंट जहाँ पे आपको चाहिए रहता है, वहाँ पे हम LFP सेल्स यूज करते हैं। साइकिल लाइफ जहाँ ज्यादा चाहिए रहता है, वहाँ LFP यूज करते हैं। NMC सेल्स जो होता है, NMC सेल्स की एनर्जी डेंसिटी बहुत हाई होती है, तो बहुत कम स्पेस में काफी ज्यादा एनर्जी आप पैक कर सकते हो। ये खास बात होती है इन पैक्स की। और डिस्चार्ज करंट काफी हाई होता है। तो जैसे टू व्हीलर एप्लीकेशन है, कार्स हैं, वहां पे हमको ज्यादा करंट चाहिए था, ज्यादा पावर चाहिए रहता है, तो वहां पे NMC सेल्स का यूज होता है। LTO सेल्स जो होती हैं, वेरी सेफ केमिस्ट्री और बहुत हाई डिस्चार्ज करंट तक जा सकती है, इवन 10C तक जा सकता है विद सम सेल्स। और साइकिल लाइफ भी बहुत हाई होती है। उतना यहाँ पे इंडिया में यूज नहीं हो रहा है बिकॉज दे आर वेरी वेरी एक्सपेंसिव। सो अब आप टेबल में देखोगे तो वोल्टेज में आप जाइए तो 3.2 वोल्ट का एक LFP सेल होता है, 3.6 वोल्ट का एक NMC सेल होता है और 2.4 वोल्ट का LTO सेल होता है। तो अगर आपको सपोज एक 48 वोल्ट का सिस्टम बनाना है, तो आपको NMC सेल्स, नंबर ऑफ NMC सेल्स कम लगेगा, नंबर ऑफ LFP सेल्स कम लगेगा, मगर नंबर ऑफ LTO सेल्स थोड़ा सा ज्यादा लगेगा, तो नंबर ऑफ थोड़ा साइज उसका ज्यादा हो जाएगा। तो इस बहुत सारा चीज आप कंसिडर करते हो जब आपको पैक बनाना रहता है। उसके बाद आप स्पेसिफिक एनर्जी देखिए। स्पेसिफिक एनर्जी LFP सेल्स का 90 टू 120 वॉट आवर पर किलोग्राम है, जबकि NMC में 150 टू 220 वॉट आवर पर किलोग्राम है। तो बेसिकली हर एक किलोग्राम में कितनी एनर्जी आप होती है, नेचुरली कितनी एनर्जी होती है, वो इसमें हम समझ सकते हैं। तो NMC जो आपकी सेल्स होती हैं, उसमें 1.5 टाइम्स ज्यादा एनर्जी होती है देन द LFP। सो मोर एनर्जी कैन बी पैक्ड पर किलोग्राम ऑफ NMC सेल्स। उसके बाद डिस्चार्ज रेट देखते हैं। डिस्चार्ज रेट LFP सेल्स में C रेट जो है वो 1C है। तो जो मैंने अभी डिस्कस किया, जैसे पूरा पानी है 10 लीटर का, आप उसको 1 घंटे में निकाल सकते हैं, 1C रेट से डिस्चार्ज कर सकते हैं। NMC में आप उसको 3C तक ले जा सकते हैं, तो आप पूरे 10 लीटर पानी को आप केवल 20 मिनट में निकाल सकते हैं। तो ज्यादा डिस्चार्ज करंट यहाँ पे आपको मिल सकता है। लिथियम LTO में इट कुड गो अप टू 10C। तो काफी तेजी से आप पानी निकाल सकते हैं, काफी तेजी से आप एनर्जी उससे निकाल सकते हैं। सो ये एक फीचर डिस्चार्ज सी रेट का हो गया। साइकिल लाइफ अगर आप देख रहे हो तो 2000 साइकिल लाइफ इज विद LFP, less than 1000 with NMC, and 3000 to 7000 is with LTO. Now comes the thermal runaway. Thermal runaway आप देखोगे तो it is showing 270 degrees with the LFP and 210 degree with the NMC, and it's showing one of the safest chemistry with LTO. अभी हम डिस्कस करते हैं LFP और NMC का कंपैरिजन में। ये दो सबसे कॉमनली यूज्ड सेल्स हैं इंडिया में। तो थर्मल रनवे क्या होता है, जब इन इंडिया टेम्परेचर बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है, कभी कभी 45-50 डिग्री हो जाता है, तो जो इंटरनल टेम्परेचर है वो बढ़ने लगता है। वहां पे इलेक्ट्रोलाइट जो होता है इनसाइड द सेल, दैट स्टार्टेड वेपोराइजिंग, और वहां पे एक्सप्लोजन का एक चांस हो जाता है। तो 270 डिग्रीज तक LFP उसको कंट्रोल कर सकता है। तो यहाँ पे देखेंगे हम लोग LFP इज फार मोर स्टेबल देन द NMC। उसके बाद एप्लीकेशंस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स जो हमने अभी डिस्कस किया, डिफरेंट एप्लीकेशंस में हम यूज कर सकते हैं। सो जैसे सोलर है, सोलर में आपको उतना ज्यादा चार्ज एंड डिस्चार्ज करंट की जरूरत नहीं है, तो वहां पे यूज करते हैं। देन ई रिक्शा में आप LFP यूज करते हैं, क्योंकि आपको 25-30 एमपीएस का करंट ही चाहिए रहता है। और उसके बाद NMC यूज करते हैं EVs में, बाइक्स, हाई स्पीड एप्लीकेशंस में, कार्स में, जहाँ मेडिकल डिवाइसेस में, जहाँ आपको हाई करंट चाहिए। LTO यूज करते हैं सोलर पावर्ड स्ट्रीट लाइट्स में, UPS में, जहाँ पे आपका हायर साइकिल लाइफ चाहिए, बहुत सेफ केमिस्ट्री चाहिए। तो आप देखेंगे कि इसी के बेसिस पे हम, हमारा एप्लीकेशन क्या है और एग्जैक्ट रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, उसके बेसिस पे हम सेल केमिस्ट्री डिफाइन करते हैं। फिर एक बार हमने सेल केमिस्ट्री डिफाइन कर लिया, हमें LFP चाहिए, NMC चाहिए, LTO चाहिए, उसके बाद हम नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में देखेंगे कि हम फॉर्म फैक्टर्स कैसे डिफाइन सेलेक्ट करते हैं। तो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। So this slide is talking about the form factors. So chemistry एक अलग चीज हो गई, और किस फॉर्म में आपको सेल चाहते हो, ये एक डिफरेंट पैरामीटर होता है। तो कॉमनली जो 3 तरह के फॉर्म फैक्टर्स हैं, दोज आर पाउच, प्रिज्मेटिक एंड सिलिंड्रिकल। नीचे आप फोटोज देख सकते हो। पाउच जनरली आपके मोबाइल फोन्स में होता है। एनर्जी डेंसिटी पाउच सेल की बहुत ज्यादा होती है, तो बहुत कम स्पेस में काफी एनर्जी आप होल्ड कर सकते हो। सो मोबाइल फोन्स में स्पेस का थोड़ा कांस्टेंट रहता है, सारी कंपनी चाहती हैं बहुत स्लीक मोबाइल फोन्स होने चाहिए, तो इसलिए पाउच सेल्स प्रेफरेबल होती हैं वहाँ पे। और पैकिंग एफिशिएंसी अगर आप देखोगे तो इट मेक्स द मोस्ट एफिशिएंट यूज ऑफ द पैक्स। सो स्टैक हो जाती है एक के ऊपर एक, तो बहुत क्लोजली स्पेस करके आप काफी कम स्पेस में इनको स्टैक कर सकते हो। तो पैकिंग एफिशिएंसी 90 to 95% रहती है। थर्मल मैनेजमेंट की अगर बात करेंगे तो थर्मल मैनेजमेंट थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट होता है पाउच सेल्स में, बिकॉज ऑल द सेल्स आर वेरी क्लोजली स्पेस। तो जो डिसिपेशन ऑफ हीट है दैट इज नॉट वेरी वेरी इजी हियर। डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी मीडियम है। तो डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी क्या होती है कि आप कितनी आसानी से एक पर्टिकुलर फॉर्म बना सकते हो उन सेल्स को लेके, कि कैसे डायमेंशंस, अलग अलग डायमेंशंस में आप बैटरी पैक बना सकते हो। सो जैसे टू व्हीलर एप्लीकेशंस हैं, तो सारे मैन्युफैक्चरर्स टू व्हीलर्स के सपोज अलग अलग तरीके का उनका स्कूटर होता है, अलग अलग तरीके के डायमेंशन होते हैं बैटरी बॉक्स के। सो अगर आप एक बैटरी मैन्युफैक्चरर हो तो सबके अलग अलग डिजाइन के हिसाब से आपके लिए बनाना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट होता है। तो उस केस में सिलिंड्रिकल सेल्स आप यूज करते हो। सिलिंड्रिकल सेल्स में डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी बहुत ज्यादा रहती है, आप आसानी से कोई भी अलग अलग फॉर्म्स बना सकते हो। उसके बाद प्रिज्मेटिक की बात करते हैं। प्रिज्मेटिक में एनर्जी डेंसिटी मॉडरेटली हाई होती है, पैकिंग एफिशिएंसी मॉडरेट होती है। आप देख सकते हो नीचे ब्रिक की तरह दिखता है प्रिज्मेटिक सेल, सेकंड वाला जो कॉलम है ब्रिक की तरह दिखता है। तो ब्रिक की तरह दिखता है तो आप बहुत क्लोजली इनको पैक कर सकते हो। तो थर्मल मैनेजमेंट थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होता है क्योंकि काफी पास पास आप इनको पैक करते हो। डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी बिकॉज थोड़ी सी इनका साइज बड़ा होता है तो उतना ज्यादा डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी नहीं होता है, लो होता है यहाँ पर। सिलेंड्रिकल की बात करते हैं तो पैकिंग डेंसिटी लो होता है, बिकॉज अगर आप दो सिलेंडर्स को अगर बगल बगल रखेंगे तो बीच में ऑटोमेटिकली नेचुरल कैविटीज आ जाता है। तो इसलिए पैकिंग डेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं होता है सिलेंड्रिकल सेल्स का, बट बिकॉज बीच में कैविटीज हैं तो इसके कारण थर्मल स्टेबिलिटी काफी ज्यादा होता है, आराम से जितना भी हीट है वो डिसिपेट हो जाता है थ्रू दोस कैविटीज। एंड बिकॉज स्मॉल साइज के होते हैं तो डिजाइन फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी हाईएस्ट होता है। आप अलग अलग तरीके के फॉर्म्स जैसे मैंने बताया आप इनसे बना सकते हो। नेक्स्ट। सो उसके बाद आता है कि हाउ वी सेलेक्ट अवर सेल्स। सो हमने एक बार केमिस्ट्री डिफाइन कर ली, शेप डिजाइन, फॉर्म डिफाइन कर लिया। अब नाउ वी कम टू सेल सिलेक्शन। सेल सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस में क्या होता है कि जो सेल्स आ रही हैं उनको हम कैसे फिल्टर आउट कर रहे हैं, उनमें कौन सी खराब सेल्स को कैसे हटाते हैं, अलग करते हैं, नॉट खराब सेल, जो रिक्वायर्ड सेल्स है उनको कैसे अलग करते हैं। सो दो प्रोसेस होते हैं, एक सेल ग्रेडिंग का प्रोसेस होता है, एक सेल सॉर्टिंग का प्रोसेस होता है। तो सेल ग्रेडिंग के प्रोसेस में क्या होता है, जो अभी मैन्युफैक्चर होकर नई सेल्स आ रही हैं, बैच से आ रही हैं, उसको हम एक मशीन में डाल देते हैं और ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द कैपेसिटीज दे आर सेगमेंटेड इनटू डिफरेंट बकेट्स। सो सपोज एक पूरा बैच बन के आया 100 सेल्स का, और उसमें कुछ सेल्स 100 एच की हैं, कुछ 100.1 एच की हैं। तो 100 एच वाली सारी सेल्स को एक बकेट में कर देगा और 100.1 एच वाली सारी सेल्स को एक बकेट में कर देगा। तो आप देखेंगे यहाँ पे जो हमारा मार्जिन है बहुत कम है, टॉलरेंस लेवल केवल 0.1 एच है। तो इतना प्रिसाइज हम लोग डिफरेंशिएट करते हैं टू मेक द राइट काइंड ऑफ पैक। उसके बाद जो सेम 100 एच के सेल्स हैं उसको फिर एक और मशीन में डालते हैं फॉर सेल सॉर्टिंग प्रोसेस। और सेल सॉर्टिंग प्रोसेस में क्या होता है, एक सेल्स डालेंगे 100 एच वाले सारे, और उसमें ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ वोल्टेज एंड इंटरनल रेजिस्टेंस, वोल्टेज एंड आईआर के बेसिस पे सॉर्ट हो जाता है। तो यहाँ पे जो टॉलरेंस रहता है दैट इज ओनली 25 मिली वोल्ट। तो अगर दो सेल्स हैं, एक का 3.2 वोल्ट है वोल्टेज और एक का 3.2 to 5 वोल्ट है, तो ये दोनों को अलग अलग बकेट्स में कर देगा। तो ये जो दोनों प्रोसेस होने के बाद जो हमारा जो बैटरी पैक के लिए सेल्स हम लोग निकालते हैं वो सबका सेम कैपेसिटी रहता है, सेम वोल्टेज रहता है और सेम आईआर रहता है। तो इसके कारण जो सेल्स हमारा बैटरी पैक बन रहा है दैट विल गिव यू द ऑप्टिमल परफॉर्मेंस। तो बहुत सारे मैन्युफैक्चरर्स इन प्रोसेसेस के लिए नहीं जाते हैं क्योंकि एक तो टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है, दूसरा इट्स लिटिल कॉस्टली। और अगर आप ये दोनों प्रोसेस सही से कर रहे हो तो 60 to 70% ऑफ द बैटरी प्रॉब्लम्स आर सॉर्टेड एट दिस प्रोसेस ओनली। सो ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोसेस है जो कि सेल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स करना चाहिए और जो कि हम लोग करते हैं। या नेक्स्ट। नाउ व्हाट वी आर यूजिंग एट इन्वर्टेड। सो इन्वर्टेड में हम लोग कौन सी केमिस्ट्री यूज कर रहे हैं और कौन से फॉर्म फैक्टर्स यूज कर रहे हैं, आई एक्सप्लेन। सो रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, जैसे मैंने बताया था क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, उस बेसिस पे सिलेक्शन होता है। तो सोलर स्टोरेज में सोलर से चार्ज होता है, तो उतना ज्यादा आपको डिस्चार्ज करनी चाहिए, चार्ज करना उतना ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए। तो एलएफपी सेल्स हमारे लिए ठीक रहता है, वहाँ पे कुछ स्पेस का भी उतना कॉन्स्टेंट नहीं है। तो आप सिलेंड्रिकल भी यूज कर सकते हो फॉर्म फैक्टर में, प्रिज्मेटिक भी यूज कर सकते हो। सो सेल्स जो हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं, द सेम सेल्स यूज्ड बाय द कंपनीज लाइक टेस्ला पावरवॉल। थ्री व्हीलर्स में जो रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, जैसे ई रिक्शा में मैंने बताया, बहुत ज्यादा करंट नहीं चाहिए आपको, 25-30 एमपीएस का कॉन्टिन्यूअस करंट चाहिए रहता है, कभी कोई पीक 50 तक चला जाता है। तो वहां पे एलएफपी सेल्स सही रहता है। और दूसरा साइकिल लाइफ थोड़ा ज्यादा रहता है। तो जैसे फेम 2 सब्सिडी जो गवर्नमेंट की है, उसमें आपका साइकिल 3 इयर्स का वारंटी चाहिए। 3 इयर्स का वारंटी तभी आएगा जब साइकिल लाइफ थोड़ा ज्यादा होगा। तो इसलिए एलएफपी यहाँ पे हमारे लिए ठीक रहता है। एंड फॉर्म फैक्टर इज प्रिज्मेटिक, बिकॉज आपने देखा होगा ई रिक्शा में और ई लोडर्स वगैरह में स्पेस उतना बड़ा कॉन्स्टेंट नहीं है जितना टू व्हीलर्स में होता है। तो कंसिडरेबल स्पेस होता है। तो एलएफपी सेल्स अगर आप 16 सेल्स या 15 सेल्स को जोड़ के एक पैक बना रहे हो सीरीज में, तो वहां पे ठीक रहता है, आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट फुलफिल करता है। सो जो सेल्स हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं इन prismatic LFP, those are the same cells used by Nissan and Hyundai. टू व्हीलर्स में रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, सडन पावर चाहिए, तो हाई डिस्चार्ज करंट चाहिए रहता है। सो एनएमसी सेल्स, एनर्जी डेंसिटी हाई होती है, मैंने बताया आपको। तो एनएमसी सेल्स यूज करते हैं। एंड बिकॉज स्पेस कांस्टेंट होता है, अलग अलग फॉर्म्स में आपको बनाना रहता है, तो इसलिए सिलिंड्रिकल सेल्स यूज करते हैं, सो दैट डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स कैन बी मेड। और सडन हाई डिस्चार्ज करंट और उसके लिए एमएनएमसी यूज करते हैं। सेल्स जो यूज करते हैं यहाँ पर, वी आर यूजिंग द सेम सेल्स यूज बाय कंपनी लाइक BYD एंड टेस्ला। So this was about what are the cells we are using, what chemistry we are using at Inverted. Yeah, next slide. So now the next important component is BMS. So my colleague Vishal will explain you the next few slides why BMS is important and the other factors. So he's working very closely with the R&D team, and he will take it over from here. Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone. So let me just before telling you how important is BMS, let me just tell you what is a BMS. So BMS, as we know, is a battery management system. BMS is a battery management system. So we all know that cell is a very dumb component, right? So that is why there is a requirement of an electronic circuit or an electronic layer over it, which can handle all the proceedings of the voltage control, like the current control, and more other features that we will discuss now. So basically, what BMS is it is acting as a brain for the battery pack. So let us just go through some of the basic features. So first basic feature that comes into my mind is the voltage protection. So the voltage protection is basically, I will just give you an example. So you have put your two-wheeler battery pack, let's say you have put your two-wheeler battery pack on charge at night. So you will keep it for like 6 to 7 hours, but you will not require it to be there for 6 to 7 hours. So the BMS should be able to understand or should be able to detect at what voltage the pack has to be cut off. So that is why the voltage protection is very important. Then there comes the current protection. So we understand that there are a lot of other applications of a similar battery pack. Like for example, a solar battery pack is designed for that case only. Two-wheeler battery pack is designed for a two-wheeler, whereas a three-wheeler is designed for a three-wheeler. So if you use a battery pack for a solar in a two-wheeler, it will not operate. Because why? Because there's some kind of protection service that has been implemented in that BMS. So if you utilize in a two-wheeler, so what will happen is there will be more current that will be drawn, and thus the BMS will be able to understand, and it will cut off that. Then there is temperature protection. So temperature protection is essentially, we understand that the battery pack runs at different condition. In Indian condition, it is very harsh, right? So like, for example, I will just give you an example of a battery pack which is operating at, say, let's say 65 degrees Celsius. So the BMS, if it has the protection of cutting off at 65, so the BMS should be able to detect that temperature at 65 degrees Celsius and should be able to communicate it with the BMS, and the BMS should cut off. That is what the temperature protection comes into place. Then last but not the least is a short circuit protection. So short circuit protection, as we know that, like for example, if somehow positive and negative is connected together, so there will be huge amount of current that will flow from the battery and through the whole circuit, which is not good for the battery, because this can essentially be resulted to a explosion. So to reduce, to not to ensure that this does not happen, a short circuit protection is enabled in the BMS. So in microseconds, the BMS is able to understand that a huge amount of current is passing through. So that is what a short circuit protection comes into play. Now let's talk about some of the advanced features. So one of the advanced features that comes into my mind is the cell balancing. So in our let's say 1.5, 2 years of working with battery packs, we were able to understand that cell misbalance is one of the major problems in the industry. So what is the issue is, I will just give you an example. Like for example, if you are charging a 14S system or a two-wheeler battery pack, an NMC pack it will be. So if you're charging it to 4.2 volts, so what will happen is, while operating, while charging, some cells will reach to 4.2 and some cells will reach to just 4 volts. So you can see there's a misbalance between these voltages. And what will happen essentially, the as we know, 14 all the 14 cells together make the voltage. So if one cell is at 4 and another is at 4.2, so we can see that the optimum voltage range is not available. So that is why cell balancing comes into place. So wherein all the cells are charged to a same level. And that is what cell balancing comes into place. Then there is communication. Communication, I will just give you an example of a electric e-mobility purpose, an electric powertrain. There is a motor, there's a controller, there is a then there's the battery pack, then there is the display as well. So I will just give you an example of communication, how it helps. So the battery should be able to communicate its health, its SOC to the display. So that is where communication comes into play. So there are some protocols like CAN protocol, then there is RS485. So these kind of protocols are used to communicate the data to the display. Same can be done with the controller and the motor as well. Then there comes GPS monitoring. So in the last few months, we have been getting a lot of inquiries from these fleet operators, wherein they are interested to understand where their battery is, how their battery is operating. So this essentially implies to implementing a GPS module in the BMS itself. So once you implement a GPS module, you can geo-track you can geofence the battery pack. Then there is remote locking. Then there is GPS tracking. All these features can be implemented in the BMS itself. Then there is a warning system. So warning system is essentially given for the user's benefit. Like for example, I will just give you an example. Like only 10 kilometers are left. So we can implement an alarm system at certain voltage that will trigger an alarm. So the user will be able to understand that, okay, there's just 10 kilometers of range that is left. So that is why warning systems, alarm-based warning systems are very useful to the user. The data logging, then comes the data logging. So as I was talking about these fleet operators, so it is very essential they log their data. They want to understand what is the behavior of the battery pack, how the battery pack is behaving at real time conditions. So this is very essential because this data helps us to understand the battery better and optimize the BMS and the battery pack at a better level. So that is why data logging is essential. So we talked about how BMS is important, how the battery management system is important. I will just go through how can you select a battery pack. So this is our learnings. I will just share it with you. Like for example, the first thing that one should do is check the quality of the components. The components. So BMS has a lot of components like the IC, MOSFET, resistors, capacitors, inductors. So these are all the components of a BMS. So these components should be of A grade quality. Only then you can make a good BMS. So ensuring the quality of the component is very important. Then comes the quality of integration. So once you have the components with you, you will always want it to integrate in a flawless manner. So that is why the quality of integration is important. I will just so how to check the quality. We can do it through a visual inspection, wherein we can understand from the visual inspection itself that whether or not the components are manually mounted or they are mounted through an automatic machine. Of course, we understand through an automatic machine, the reliability of that integration will be far more higher than a manual integration. So now comes the BMS testing. So the BMS testing is again very important because once it is integrated, it is very important to see how it is actually operating. So that is why the testings at voltage levels, different parameters are tested and sort of ensure that it is working as it is defined. Uh, Now comes precision. So I will just give you an example of precision to understand precision more better. So everybody can relate to the shirts. So there are a lot of shirts that are that fits to our body, and there are a lot of shirts that are very loose. So essentially, what uh, it is how precisely that shirt is tailored. So that is why the precision is very important in BMS aspect as well. We just take a thumb rule of the lower the tolerance will be, the higher the precision of the BMS will be. Like if you can go through a data sheet of any of the BMS, there is a parameter written and with some kind of plus minus 25 millivolt or some sort of these kind of values you can see, which essentially is how precisely the BMS can detect the voltage and the current ratings. So now we discussed everything about BMS. I will just share our journey, how we sort of came to these kind of conclusions. So when we started with analyzing all the BMS that were there in the market. We sort of did all the testings and came up with the pros and cons of each of the BMSs. Once the market was evaluated, we were able to understand it is now we should now start to evaluate from a component perspective. So as we know, IC or the microcontroller is very important for a very important component. So that is why when we started talking to this electronic manufacturers, large scale electronic manufacturers like TI, STM, Maxi Integrated, etc. Upon evaluating them, we were able to understand that the TI's BQ series is one of the best series out there, one of the best IC out there. So that is why we started developing a BMS around that IC. Once we tested and we sort of had an understanding how the BMS works and the other essential features, we incubated a project with IIT Delhi because we understood there's a lot more that goes into a design, and there is some sort of SOC algorithm and SOH algorithm that are to be made. So we started taking help from IIT Delhi and incubated a project there. Then in the market, we were able to understand that there is a requirement for a data logger as well. So we built a data logger in-house, we tested it, we did all the data logging of the battery pack, and we integrated it with the BMS. Then as I was talking about the fleet operators, So GPS module was one of the essential features that was to be integrated with the BMS. Again, we did the same thing. We started doing some in-house testing with the GPS modules, and we were sort of able to understand and integrate it with the BMS. So that is the whole aspect that we have in the BMS right now. So we have a SOC Coulomb-based SOC model, a data logging, as well as GPS monitoring system as well. So that was what BMS is. Now comes the electrical parameters. I will just go through the electrical parameters. So what are basically the electrical parameters? The first essential important thing is the wires. So we must have experienced this, that the wires, burnt wires. So why it happens is, it is essentially because the wire was not optimally designed, and that is why the current which was going through it, which produces a lot of heat, uh, so which essentially burns the wire if it is not of the required design. So that is how the wire is important. Then comes the connector. So connector, we understand that it is used by the users quite often, so it is subjected to a lot of abuse. So while thinking of the connector, we sort of go through all the parameters that are essential. I will just give you a few of the examples, like the mating life, the ease of conductivity, the force by which it is mated, the force by which it is unmated. So these are the few parameters that has to be gone through while selecting the connectors. In our journey, so we are talking to some of the big manufacturers like Rosenberg, Anderson, Chagori. So we are evaluating them from all these aspects. Then comes the fuse. Fuse is acting as a last resort for the to save the battery pack from any kind of electrical abuse. So fuse essentially what happens, it burns out after a certain, if current limit exceeds. We can also use MCBs if we want to manually sort of trigger it again. So that is what a fuse is. Bus bar, it is the least given importance, but it is one of the essential, one of the most important parameters for a battery pack, because it is through the BMS the current is flowing every time. So while selecting the bus bar, it is very important to see what kind of a material it is. So while selecting the material, the conductivity, the resistance of this material is taken care of. When we talk about the whole BMS, the thickness of the BMS, the length of the BMS are very essential. So that is what the bus bar is. Now let me just take you to the structural parameters. So the structural parameters will be taken care by Mr. Akshay. Akshay is working closely with our R&D team. Akshay, over to you.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you for covering all the electrical aspects, and thank you, Mr. Saurav, for taking to the ER industry and two-wheeler industry battery packs. So here we go. I would like to take you to the structural aspects. So structure, nothing but what are the components required to keep the battery wholly. Now let's talk about why structure is important. So for example, in e-rickshaw, we have e-rickshaw or two-wheeler, any automobile component which is moving on uneven surfaces, or which is which is not static, जो energy solutions के सिवा होता है, उसको structural aspects में consider करना चाहिए. For example, absorbing vibrations and absorbing shocks. So in order to provide robustness and rigidity, we need to design the cell holder, and the welding has to be robust, and the battery enclosure has to be checked very well. So how can we prevent these four parameters? For example, in the case of cell holder, the cell holder is made of ABS, which is a thermoplastic. So thermoplastic is a material which can withstand extreme shocks and also is thermally insulated. That's what we use in between the cells. In the case of cylindrical cells, we use cell holders, but whereas in the prismatic cells, which are brick-like structure, we use the modular platform. And also, apart from the structural cell holders, we also have compression band, heat sink plates, and also interconnect covers, which can prevent the cell to be misaligned. And let's talk about the welding. There are three types of welding which is done in the cell manufacturing. For example, laser welding, spot welding, and screw joint welding. So basically, in the e-rickshaw application with the prismatic cell, we are using laser welded battery design, and also in the cylindrical side, we are using spot, and in the stationary where there are no static, I mean when there are no shocks or vibrations, we use screw joints. And apart from the battery enclosure, so why battery enclosure? On the last side on the left image, you can see environmental conditions. So in the case of environmental conditions, we need to prevent the battery from water, dust, and other external calamities. So in order to give the battery a full force enclosure, we have to choose the material properly. So in the next slide, I would like to tell you about what we are doing at Inverted with the following things. So here, how to evaluate structural parameters. So we have done a short research on this, and four main ideas were taken into consideration. For example, heat dissipation. As you know, a cell is a exothermic reaction takes place where heat is generated during the operation. So in order to keep the cell in optimum performance, we need to keep the heat out of the enclosure. Therefore, one has to choose the material such a way that it can dissipate large amount of heat from inner area to outer area. So aluminum is one of the best conductor of heat, which can take the heat from inner area to outer environment. And now let's move to the vibrational strength. In the vibrational strength, let's talk about the cell holders again. So cell holders are nothing but they are cylindrical honeycomb structure which are made of ABS, nylon, or thermoplastic. I'll show you the picture of the cell holder in the next coming slides. But this gives the cells a proper rigidity, and it holds the cells during the vibration shocks. Apart from that, we also use nickel strips of 0.5 mm thickness or 4 mm thickness in the case of e-rickshaw application, and in case of cylindrical we use 0.5 to 2 mm thickness in order to provide high torsional and bending stresses when it is connected between the cells. So in the case of mechanical property, so mechanical property is again chosen in the case of enclosure. So in the enclosure, we check the material toughness, hardness, and also machinability. Why? Because all these parameters can help us to design a robust battery pack. So therefore, according to ASTM standards, we select the material. It should be light in weight because one has to take the battery pack for the charging. In the case of two-wheeler, it should be portable. Whereas in three-wheelers, swappable is also an option, but detachable most people are preferring nowadays. Apart from that, we also do the internal tensile strength. Again, it is a standard test done on metallic structures, and whereas in the case of compression stresses and tensile stresses in the thermoplastic is also performed. Let's go to the ingress protection. In ingress protection, what we are doing generally is like, as you can see, most of the batteries these days are coming with displays, and the enclosures are not properly sealed. So we use rubber orients and silica-based gels in order to prevent entry of water and also entry of dust into the battery pack. As you know, water can create havoc inside the battery pack. It can burst the battery pack. Therefore, entry of water and entry of dust must be avoided. So here I have covered four aspects in the structural parameters. So in the next slide, I'll take you to what exactly is happening and how these steps are taken away in the design and building of battery enclosure and cell holders. So here on the left side, you can see this is a prototyping machine. So this is a 3D machine. In this machine, we create our concepts, and these concepts are tested, and then in fact, we create more than 10 concepts for one application. And after creating this concept, we would like to use in real-time application and then move forward. So here are the steps how we do it. So in the first step, you can see the user research. So in user research, we go to the market, going to the market where we get the user experience. For example, a current battery in the market, and there are many challenges such as performance, serviceability, machinability, and also readiness for hard conditions, because harsh conditions. As you know, in India we have more abusive approach towards fleet vehicles, and also towards towards e-rickshaws. As you can see, after 4 years, the chassis of the e-rickshaw gets distorted. So that's the reason, in order to give a better handling product, we are doing some research and getting the data from there. And then in the ideation stage, in the second stage, we try to build these concepts through hand sketches, and then move to the 3D modeling software, CAD software available in the market. So once the design is done, after doing the design, we want to concept building into a prototype. So prototype, as you know, prototype is being tried with foam models, with 3D machine on the left side of the machine. This machine helps us to design the 3D models, and also sometimes CRC. Models are made, we try to do pilot testing on the field with these concepts, and which product suits the well inside the chassis of the two-wheeler or inside the battery casing. Once it is done, then we move for the final concept product, and this is brought into mass production. So in the next slide, I'll take you to the testing processes on the material structures, and also the what is happening in the product development stage. So in the product development stage, as we define the sketch taken from the sketch designed by our product development team. So here you can see a two-wheeler battery pack, which is basically a cuboid. So a cube is designed. Apart from that, apart from the structure, we are also concentrating on the enclosure. As I told you that water and dust must be prevented, so we have designed a kind of closing which can help prevent entry of water and other materials inside the battery pack. So it's a kind of lock kind of function is happening on this. It's a spring based design. So this is our basically a confidential product. So right now we are working on it, and maybe in the future we'll get the product. So on the right side you can see this a honeycomb structure, which is nothing but a cell holder. So this is a cell holder which helps to insert the cells into this structure, and a battery pack is formed out of it. So basically this is from thermoplastic, and this was made inside our facility, first designed, and in the 3D machine this was made. So let's move to the next slide. Here in the last stage we were doing prototyping and testing. So on the enclosures and on the cell holders, we are doing rigorous testing in order to check the performance under maximum temperatures, and also thermal conductivity. So mechanical test, as I already mentioned, that mechanical test we are doing it. So once, twice, thrice, and we do number of tests in order to get optimum data, and out of this data we try to figure out that which material is best. After all this test is done, then the material is finalized. So in the thermal part, we check for the temperature coefficient, such as if this structure can withstand the temperature inside the battery pack. And in the electronic side, we check the conductivity. So as you know, if the material is conductive, if there is any short circuit reaction, if the shock can be experienced by the user or not, how can we provide the insulation. So in the electronic part, we do this type of testing. And also in the mechanical side, we also check with the corrosion activity, because the battery is subjected to water during the rainy seasons in India. As you know, this can create trouble. So that's what anti-corrosive materials are used, and mechanical tests are performed according to ASTM standards. So in the next slide, I'll take you to the thermal management of a battery pack. So what is thermal management and why it is important? So firstly, I will tell you about thermal management. Thermal management is nothing but amount of heat which is generated inside the battery during the reaction or during the charge and discharge cycle is being controlled by external environment. So external environment as in forced cooling, natural free cooling, and liquid cooling. So I'll tell you the cell level experience of our lab, where we had experienced the optimum performance of the cell. So on the left side of the map, as you can see, this is a graph which depicts the maximum on the x-axis you can see the discharge capacity, and on the y-axis you can see the voltage. So at different temperatures, one can plot how the cell is performing. So the blue line, which is the lower at which is at minus 20 degrees, and the red line, which is depicting from voltage, and it is going up about 2700 capacity, the discharge capacity mAh. So why this? Because in negative temperatures, the performance of the NCM cell or any cell chemistry lithium goes down. So that's what at negative temperatures, in order to keep it optimum, people in Europe and European countries and American countries use coolant of optimum temperature or ambient temperature in order to keep it get going. Whereas in India, we don't need this. As you know, the temperature is always about 20 to 25 degrees, but sometimes when it goes low, you can experience low range. But what we can infer from this graph is that about 25 to 40 degrees centigrade, you can get the maximum efficiency out of a cell. So the blue graph, which is depicting at 40 degrees centigrade, this is the surface temperature, and at surface temperature of 40 degrees centigrade, you can achieve maximum efficiency cycles. But whereas in the case of above 45 degrees, again this works on the vice versa direction, I mean the opposite direction. The same thing we are experiencing in cold temperature. So this is the data from the cell, and on the right side we have studied on two different cells operating at two different temperatures. Matlab, at 25 degrees centigrade is the blue line depicting, and at 45 degrees centigrade it's the orange line. So the number of cycles has been reduced after 800 cycles. I mean the life of the cell will be reduced operating in hotter temperature. So therefore in cold temperature, about 17% of the life, 17.7% of the life of the cell was gone after 800 cycles, whereas in hot temperature, I mean it's above 40 degrees, as I was saying you, it's 45. So in the 45, 30 degrees has been gone. So therefore, in order to overcome all these things, we are doing thermal management. That's the reason thermal management is very important. Whereas in the prismatic cells, thermal is not an issue, as Mr. Saurabh was explaining you. And in your e-rickshaw, we are using some materials which prevent thermal loss, which prevent capacity of the cell to go down, and such as heat sinks, aluminum heat sinks we are using, which can help the heat to get out of the battery. But whereas in the cylindrical cells, we need to perform different orientation of cells in order to get higher capacity. So therefore, in the next slide, I take you through the software where single cell model has been designed in a software. So on the left side, as you can see, I think everybody is comfortable with the technical aspect, right? So here is a cylindrical cell. So this cell was modeled in a ANSYS software. So in order to study the heat dissipation process inside the cell, मतलब जहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा heat generate हो रही है, जो area में heat generation हो रहा है, तो जो red part है, the red area is very prone to heat generation when it is charging and discharging at maximum cycles. So for example, in this data, we were doing the discharge rate at 1C discharge, and this was the area where heat generation was maximum. So in order to cross check with this simulation model, we had to do a practical test. In the practical test, on the right image, you can see a number of thermocouples were placed on the cylindrical cell in order to test the data. I mean, whatever data we received from the simulation has been cross-checked with the laboratory test. So this helped us to understand that, okay, this cell is being heating in this area. Therefore, whenever we design a battery pack, we have to make sure that this part of the cell is subjected to air cooling, natural free cooling, which can prevent loss of battery capacity. And after the single cell model, we try to simulate on the multiple cells or a slack of cells, where we were able to understand the battery performance at stack level. So in the next slide, here on the left side, you can see a simulation diagram. So the simulation is running actually. It's a short video where you can see. So this model was performed on assuming three conditions. First of all, we assume that the properties of the battery inner part of the battery pack remain same except heat transfer. So heat transfer is always changing, and also lumped parameters. So in the case of lumped, the spatial direction, spatial in the sense x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. In the three axes, the temperature flow was equal. So that's the reason. In order to do the modeling of this software, these conditions has to be assumed, and the nodes were given about 10,000 nodes were given inside the battery, because this simulation requires high supercomputers, which can take 2 to 3 days. So that's what we were trying to understand, the battery pack heat generation at stack level for 10,000 nodes. So apart from that, in this model, the discharge rate was up to 2C. But whereas in the case of more than 3C, which is in the cars, in the buses, we require heavy cooling cooling materials such as phase changing materials, and also we use some of the phase changing materials made from 3M, which is known as Novel. If you want to know more about cooling materials, you can just contact our R&D team. But whereas in the case of two-wheelers and three-wheelers, as the discharge rates is low, we don't require such kind of materials. But in the future, we are planning of working on car application also. That's what this model was performed in order to understand can design a car pack in-house. So in the thermal part, I would like to finish it here. You can post your questions in the chat, and I'll take you to the next slide where Mr. Saurabh would take the slide now, and he will complete the remaining part of the presentation. Over to you, Saurabh sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Akshay. So Akshay and Vishal have discussed in detail how Inverted is working on battery packs. What are the different things we see while designing a pack? So you must have little knowledge about that now. So now I will take you forward, and we'll discuss a little bit about Inverted Energy, what team is. So yeah, next slide. So the product range. So we are working in static solutions. We are making batteries for two-wheelers. We are making batteries for three-wheelers. So in the last 2-3 years, we have done significant market research, and have met a lot of manufacturers, dealers, customers, and try to understand the pain points they were having with the existing lithium batteries or lead acid batteries. So for example, in the e-rickshaw segment, I have met at least 100 of e-rickshaw drivers. So उनसे बात किया और समझने की कोशिश की, यूपी गया, बिहार गया, दिल्ली, वेस्ट बंगाल, एवरीवेयर. सो बहुत सारे उनके फीडबैक्स मिले, लाइक दे वर हैविंग इश्यूज ऑफ हाई चार्जिंग टाइम. सो सुबह 6 बजे से 11 बजे तक रिक्शा चला रहे हैं, उसके बाद 5 घंटे उनको वेट करना, वो रेस्ट करते थे. रेस्ट इसलिए करते थे क्योंकि उनकी बैटरी चार्ज होती थी उस समय, तो ये उनके लिए एक इकोनॉमिकल लॉस था. वो दे वांट टू इंक्रीज देयर अर्निंग, बट बिकॉज ऑफ द लिमिटेशंस ऑफ द लेड एसिड बैटरीज वो हो नहीं पा रहा था उनसे. एक बहुत बड़ा इशू जो आता है, उनका जो रिक्शे का लाइफ है वो कम हो जाता है, बिकॉज लेड एसिड बैटरी से जो फ्यूम्स निकलते हैं उससे चेसिस काफी कमजोर हो जाती है, तो रिक्शे की लाइफ 3 साल 4 साल से ज्यादा नहीं हो पाती है. वो लिथियम बैटरीज में इट विल इंक्रीज अप टू 6 to 7 years. So बहुत सारे फीडबैक्स मिले, and then we tried to break down each and every problem into smaller components and try to find the solutions. So ई-रिक्शा में सबसे पहले वी मेड ए 15S प्रोडक्ट. 15S मतलब हमने 15 सेल्स लगाई, प्रिज्मेटिक LFP सेल्स लगाई सीरीज में, एंड देन ट्राई टू डिड लॉट ऑफ पायलट्स विद लॉट ऑफ ई-रिक्शा कंपनीज. सो उनसे हमें बहुत अच्छा सपोर्ट मिला, एंड वी एक्सट्रैक्टेड डेटा कि क्या वोल्टेज किस रेंज में चल रही है, कि एवरीथिंग वी नोटेड डाउन. डेटा लॉगर हमने लगा के इन दिल्ली एकदम ट्रैफिक एरियाज में रियल ट्रैफिक कंडीशंस में टेस्टिंग किया, और फिर हमको लगा कि 15S पैक का रेंज उतना हमको ऑप्टिमल नहीं आ रहा है. सो हमने फिर उसका 16S प्रोडक्ट यूज किया, एक सेल हमने एक्स्ट्रा बढ़ाया, एंड देन वी रियलाइज कि दिस इज द राइट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्फ़िगरेशन. फिर हमें सेल मिसबैलेंसिंग के इश्यूज काफी आए थे शुरू में, सो वी इम्प्रूव्ड अवर BMS. और फिर बहुत सारे डिफरेंट सेल सप्लायर्स से हमने एटलीस्ट वी स्पोक टू 15+ डिफरेंट सप्लायर्स, उनको हमने बताया कि ये सेल मिसबैलेंसिंग का इश्यू इंडिया में आ रहा है, इससे दिक्कतें आ रही है. एंड देन वी केप्ट ऑन डूइंग लॉट ऑफ ट्रायल्स, और उसके बाद हमने अपने सेल सप्लायर्स भी फाइनलाइज कर लिए ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस. फिर हमने कैन बेस्ड बैटरी बनाई. इफ यू हैव बीन देयर एट EV Expo, तो वहाँ हमने शोकेस किया था अपना कैन बेस्ड बैटरी, क्योंकि बहुत सारे आजकल B2B प्लेयर्स मांग रहे हैं, जिनमें डेटा एक्सट्रैक्शन वगैरह लिटिल फास्टर होता है देन द RS485 कम्युनिकेशन. So we are also working on our GPS module as Vishal has told you. So हम लोग बहुत सारे फीचर्स भी इनबिल्ट कर चुके हैं, लाइक रिमोट लॉकिंग फीचर इज देयर. सो माइलेज वगैरह तो है ही उसमें इनबिल्ट. एंड विद इन कोलैबोरेशन विद IIT दिल्ली हमने इन हाउस डेटा लॉगर बनाया है. सो अगेन दिस इज आस्क्ड बाय लॉट ऑफ B2B प्लेयर्स, लॉजिस्टिक कंपनीज. उनको चाहिए रहता है कि उनका बैटरी कैसे परफॉर्म करे डिग्रेडेशन डेटा, सो दैट दे कैन गिव देयर वारंटीज एज वेल. उनका TCO कितना है, टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ ऑपरेशंस. तो इकोनॉमिक सेंस बनाएगा कि नहीं बनाएगा वो पर्टिकुलर बैटरी, वो डेटा से ही उनको पता चलेगा. अभी तक जो बैटरीज आ रही थी उसमें आप डेटा एक्सट्रैक्शन नहीं कर सकते थे, लेड एसिड बैटरी में तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं था. सो ये सारे फीचर्स हमने अपनी बैटरी में इनबिल्ट किए. सो एज आई टोल्ड, सप्लाई चेन सॉर्टेड कर लिया है. सो अभी जो करंट प्रोडक्ट्स रेंज है सोलर में, वी आर मेकिंग प्रोडक्ट्स 12 वोल्ट, 13Ah, 18Ah till 80Ah. टू व्हीलर में वी आर मेकिंग बैटरीज फॉर ऑल द 3 प्लेटफॉर्म्स, 48 वोल्ट, 60 वोल्ट, 72 वोल्ट विद वेरिंग एज. 3 व्हीलर्स में, ई रिक्शा, ई लोडस में 48 वोल्ट, 60 वोल्ट पैक्स विद डिफरेंट AH रेंजेस. 60 AH से लेके 200 AH तक सारे पैक्स हम लोग अभी बना रहे हैं. नेक्स्ट. So these are some of the collaborations you can see. So we are working with the leading IITs, and we have funded a few projects for BMS, thermal management, and other aspects of the battery. So this is not a one-day job. Every day we learn something or not, and something or the other, and keep on improving. So academia से काफी support मिलता है हमको. So yeah, next. So this is one of the pick of our young team. So it's fun working with them. It's a 20+ member team, and we have 50% of the people in the R&D team only. So you can understand our intent. We first want to make a right battery pack and then hit the market, and not the vice versa. So if you are coming to Delhi, we are based out of Okhla. If you are coming here, you are welcome. If you can have a look at our R&D facility, you can meet our people, and yeah. So we have warehouses in some 25 cities, and we have a service team of 100+ professionals across the country. So we are building our service network as well. Yeah. Next slide. So these are some of the pictures of the beneficiaries of the Saubhagya scheme. So as I think Raghav has mentioned that we have worked with the government for the rural electrification scheme. So these are some of the pics that we got from the government, and it gives you, inner satisfaction. You see if you are giving something back to the society. So this was all about what we do at Inverted, and I think we have covered the basics of the lithium battery packs. So now it's over from my side. We are open to questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for the overview and the presentation. I'll open the forum to everybody for question answers. We will do an 18-minute question answer. So please, anybody who has any question can unmute and can ask a question.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Priyank this side. Can you also please throw some light on the depth of discharge, like how much depth of discharge this batteries would be having?
Hi, Priyank. Thank you so much for the question. First, to everybody, I'll try and quickly walk through what does the depth of discharge mean and how does it vary across lead-acid batteries and lithium-ion batteries. Depth of discharge is defined as the amount of energy that you can extract from a battery. So it's very simple to a tank of water. So if a tank of water is 100 liters, so in that tank of 100 liters, how much water can you extract? Can you extract 60 liters, 70 liters, 80 liters, 90 liters, or 100 liters? So that essentially defines the depth of discharge. To Priyank's question, that what is the depth of discharge for a lithium-ion battery? The depth of discharge for a lithium-ion battery is about 80 to 85%. So the higher the depth of discharge, the lower would be the number of cycles. So while you can also discharge these batteries to a depth of discharge of 95%, but that would have an implication on the life cycle. So it is recommended that these batteries should be operated at a DOD of 80%. Just to give you a perspective that how does it fare in comparison to lead acid batteries, for lead acid batteries, this number is about 50 to 60%. So for lithium ion batteries, this number is almost 25 to 30% higher than a lead acid battery. Priyank,
So
I
does
hope
it
this answers.
sorry to interrupt you. So does that also depend on the chemistry? Like NMC will be having 80 to 85%, then phosphate batteries will be having some higher or something like that. Does that depend on that, or lithium ion in general will be having around 80 to 85%?
No, Priyank, it is also dependent upon the chemistry. So for NMC batteries, the depth of discharge would be different. For LFP batteries, it would be different, and for LTO batteries, it would be different.
So what? Where will we get the maximum? Like NMC will it be giving us the maximum discharge?
Yes, NMC would give you the maximum depth of discharge.
Okay, which will come out to be around 85%, right?
It's about 90%.
90%. Okay, right. So, okay, just to add to this particular question, like if I'm saying that my battery pack is 45 kilowatt hours, so I have to consider it as the usable capacity will be around 90% for the NMCs, right?
Correct, absolutely correct. So
Right, right.
if your battery bank is 45 kilowatt hour and you're determining it at 90% depth of discharge, your usable
Right.
capacity would be approximately 40 kilowatt hour, which is 40 units.
Right. So the OEM will be able to use only till that particular level.
Correct. So that is what is the functionality of the BMS. So the BMS is triggered or functioned in such a way that once the voltage drops beyond a certain point, it will cut off from the load, which is the motor, controller, bulb, etc. Whatever the load is, it will disconnect once it reaches that voltage threshold.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Next question, please.
Yeah, hi. My name is Simardeep. I needed to ask a question.
Hi, Simardeep. Yeah, please go ahead.
The thing is that I am basically dealing in power backup systems, and
Okay.
late I want to integrate them with solar, like
Okay.
giving solutions which can actually energize a house for maybe very long periods of time. We generally do that with lead acid batteries, but again, because of two major reasons: one of a lower DOD, and the second, the maintenance part. So these two things, and of course the lower life cycles, these tend to become a hindrance at certain projects. And of course, space saving in lithium ion, that also is factor in certain cases. So what my question is that when one designs this system, how is it different from one designing in conjunction with a lead acid battery as compared to with a lithium ion battery? What are the basic factors that one has to keep into mind other than the DOD?
Very good question, Simadeep. One, the answer is not trivial to this question. I will still try and answer this question in as brief as possible. While we have a seminar scheduled next week, which will be mostly on the sizing of the battery bank for solar-powered projects. So I will send across the link to you, and you can obviously understand everything.
Wonderful. I'll appreciate that.
But I'll try and answer your question in detail right now. So basically, there are a couple of things which will determine that how do you design your battery for a particular application. So one is the total number of units that is required as backup. So for example, if the total load is 10 kilowatt in a particular household, and you require that load to be run for about 4 hours. So which essentially means that you require a total usable backup of about 40 kilowatt hour or 40 units. So that's one number that you need to arrive at. So while the answer is not as trivial as what I just made it look like, because it is very difficult to determine that at what point of time, how much load would be running. So for example, when you do diesel generator sizing, if your total sanctioned load or total connected load is 10 units, 10 kilowatt, then you assume that at any point of time, you would probably be just running 30% or 40% of the connected load. That's just a ballpark assumption of how you would be doing your sizing. So if your total load is 3-4 kilowatt and you would want a 4-hour backup, so this essentially means that you need 12 units of usable backup. So that's one thing. The second thing is that what is your total power requirement at any instant. So for example, if you use an air conditioner, or you use any motor, or you use a refrigerator which has an inductive load attached to it, So what is the maximum current that you need to draw at any point of time? So that's the second consideration. The third consideration is that what all power sources do you have? Do you have your EV? Do you have solar? Do you have battery? Do you have diesel generator? Now, depending upon these multiple power sources, we will determine that at what point what power source would be operating. So that's the third consideration. The fourth consideration is what technology are you using? So, for example, if you're using lead acid batteries, you will have to size your batteries with the assumption that your depth of discharge is 50%, your charging current is C by 10, your discharging current is C by 10, your efficiency is 75%, the space required is Y or X or whatever that number is. Whereas when you are using lithium ion batteries, that depth of discharge is 80%, the round trip efficiency is 95%, the charging rate is C by 2, the discharging rate is 1C. So these are some of these factors that you would take into consideration when you're designing your battery pack. Does it sort of give you a brief understanding of how to go about it?
Yeah, it does, rather, but actually most of the things, since I've already been designing systems with lead acid batteries, I would like to take up discussion here on application whenever that is being held, because mine was pertaining particularly to a grid autonomous system working on a power backup through lithium ion and solar only.
Right. So if it is not dependent upon the EB, then things that you would have to take into consideration is that what is your total backup that you require, what is your maximum power requirement, and what technology you're using, and do you have a diesel generator or not?
There's no other backup, simply solar and lithium ion battery system working in parallel. That's nothing else. So would like to take that in detail later on. I think there must be other people who might be having
Yes,
questions. So
yes. So you can always give me a call and we can have a more detailed chat on this.
kindly show the number on the chat group, please.
So,
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
yes, go
Hi,
ahead.
Shubham. Hello. Hi,
Yes, please
Shubham.
go ahead. Yes, this is Raghav this side. Please go
Uh,
ahead.
I wanted, yeah, I wanted to ask how to select a particular kind of cell for battery pack. What parameters should a EV or a battery manufacturer should take into consideration while designing an battery pack?
Thank you, Palash, for that question. So Saurabh had covered some of those points during the conversation. So it needs to it it is a function of what is your application first of all, whether it is a solar application, whether it is a home storage application, whether it is a two-wheeler, three-wheeler application. So then you will also take into consideration what is your charging current, what is your discharging current, what is your peak power requirement, what is the number of cycles that you require. So all of these parameters would determine how do you optimally select the right battery cell, and then obviously your form factors would be determined as to what shape flexibility do you have. So these are some of these things that will impact the selection of the cell. Again, there is no
So
right
Raghav,
answer to this question.
ये बैटरी आफ्टर वारंटी पीरियड क्या इसका
Can you
लाइफ
Hello.
yes sir
Yes,
are you
I'll
comfortable
take your question. Yes, just 1 second. Let me first clear that initial question. Yes, Palash, you were saying something.
actually I just wanted to request you to please throw some light on testing of lithium ion batteries.
Okay, so testing of lithium-ion batteries. So there are multiple tests that is done. One is capacity testing. Second is life cycle testing. Third is battery parameter testing. So for example, all the BMS parameters are working or not. And so these are some of the testings that we do for battery pack.
Can we get in depth of this?
When you say in-depth, as in what exactly are you referring to?
Parameters.
So, Palash, again, that's something that we'll have to take offline because there are a lot of
Okay.
these parameters. There is no short answer to this question, while Vishal had covered some of those parameters during his conversation.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Hi,
Next.
hi, hi, Raghav, sir.
Raghav,
This side Avnish, I'm with the e-rickshaw company in the sales and marketing.
चार्जेस पड़ेगा अगर मैं जे रिपेयर फिर से करना होगा तो?
I want to know the life cycle of the lithium ion battery in a e-rickshaw. The first question, and the second question is, and it will its power decrease with the passage of time, like the power will remain same on second year or third year or the last year. So my two question, the life cycle and the what power will decrease in the second year, third year also.
So Avnish, very good question. So one, the life cycle for an e-rickshaw battery is approximately 1500 cycles. So which essentially means an operating life of about 4 to 5 years. So that's the first, the answer to the first question. The second question is that whether there is degradation over second year, third year. The answer is absolutely correct. There is degradation. So what we generally anticipate that in the first year we should see a degradation of about 8 to 10%, and by the end of third year we should see a total degradation of about 20-25%. That's a ballpark number, but while the actual number would be determined upon what is your operating temperature, what is your number of life cycles that you do in a day, if you're doing one life cycle or if you're doing two cycles. What depth of discharge are you operating at? How frequently are you charging or discharging these batteries?
Hello.
So all of those things would impact the actual number of degradation. But generally, what we've seen that in the first year we'll see 10% degradation, and by the end of third year we should see about 20% degradation.
Right. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr. Raghav.
Yes.
Hello, Raghav.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Is solution available to install with the existing inverter? Is there any battery ready in the market which we can install with the existing inverter and it would work?
So when you say an existing inverter, are you referring to the home inverters or are you referring to a solar inverter?
Yes, home inverter. Let's say a 1000 V inverter, a general inverter which is installed, crores of homes in India. So is it compatible? This battery is ready that can be installed with the existing inverter. Or if it is not ready, is there any setting that we can do and install with the inverter? And how would be the cost different from the existing lead-acid battery?
So that's a very, very good question, Karthik. Again, the short answer to that question is that currently the batteries are not compatible with the existing home inverters. And one short explanation for that is that since currently in these home inverters, the 1000 VA inverters that you were referring to, there is a charging profile which is pre-fed into these inverters, which is basis the lead acid batteries. So the charging profile for a lead acid battery is boost charging, float charging, and trickle charging. Whereas the charging profile for a lithium-ion battery is CCCV, constant current, constant voltage, and hence it will not be compatible with the existing inverters. Now, to your third question, that is there something that we can do to make it compatible? So the answer is yes. So we are working on a controller wherein the inverter will believe that the power source on the other side is a lead acid battery, whereas it will make the battery feel that the power source which is charging is understands the charging profile of a lithium-ion battery. So what it will essentially do is it will convert the charging profile of a lead-acid battery to a lithium-ion battery. So there is a controller. We are in the process of building that, and we should be out to it in the next quarter.
Hello, Mr. Raghav.
A huge demand for this.
Yeah.
I will talk to you separately on this. I will be requiring more than 10,000 numbers if it is okay and working in the site, right? Okay, I'll contact you offline. Thank you so much for the information.
Thank you so much, Karthik.
Yeah, Mr. Raghav.
Yes.
How do we select the right type of EMS for a battery? What is the criteria for it?
Okay. So Maulik, thank you so much for that question. So again, there is no right answer to this question. It is a function of what application are you using. So for example, you're using for a solar application wherein the complexity is fairly minimal. You know that your charging profile is like this. Your charging current would vary from this to this. So it's a fairly trivial application. But when you talk about an e-rickshaw or an e-mobility application, complexity is far more. Complexity in terms of that whenever your rickshaw bumps into bumps on the road, the sudden current requirement is very, very high. When you deaccelerate or when you brake, your discharging current requirement is again very, very high. When you are from a e-rickshaw driver perspective, you would want to understand that what is the mileage left, or what is the range left. So an SOC estimation should be there in that BMS. So depending upon the application, the complexity of the BMS changes. So just to sort of summarize, so one, we need to understand what exactly the application and the BMS designed to follow through.
So like we cannot connect 2 or 3 batteries in parallel or series, something like that.
You can.
So for that we'll require separate BMS for that.
Yes, so every battery would have an internal BMS to stabilize the cells within that battery, and to connect 3 batteries in series or parallel, we would require a master BMS which is controlling all the 3 batteries. So
Okay.
it will be a 2-level structure.
Okay. I'll discuss later on with you. You can take the other questions from other people. Yeah. Okay.
We have one last question.
Can we get this presentation on mail? The presentation you showed, can we get this on mail?
We'll send it across to you. Just drop your email on the chat box and we'll send it across.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Yeah, hi. This is Gaurav Gupta.
स्क्रैप
Yes, Gaurav.
each value का आफ्टर वारंटी पीरियड क्या चार्जेस लगेगा?
तो वापस बोलिए
सर, इसका जो वारंटी खत्म हो जाएगा तो इसका सेल, एक अगर सेल यूज होता है उसमें लगता है रिप्लेस होता है, क्या चार्जेस पड़ेगा? कस्टमर ये भी क्वेश्चन करते हैं कि बाद में इसका चार्जेस क्या लगेगा अगर रिपेयरिंग कर?
सो इसका कोई बहुत सिंपल सवाल नहीं है, बिकॉज जब आपकी कोई बैटरी में सेल खराब हो जाता है, then we need to replace with a cell which is of very similar nature, which has gone through similar degradation and is at a certain level. तो हमें उसको उस सेल से रिप्लेस करना पड़ेगा, बट चांसेस ऑफ सेल फेलियर आर फेयरली.
त्यांना बाकीचं 50 आहे ना, त्यांना मला 4 पर
So I just want to know, have you guys launched commercially? Are you basically available? Can we start pitching your products to our end clients?
We have already been in the market for about 3 years. We've done approximately 60 megawatt hour of battery sales so far. We already have with our products for 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers. So yes, you can start pitching.
Okay. And second question is, Nilesh, what about the life cycle? I mean, by life cycle, I mean that once the usable life of a particular battery has expired, what happens to the battery after that? Are you do you have a plan to repurpose that by doing a buyback or by partnering with some life cycle management firms?
So basically, so for these batteries which are currently used in EV or 2-wheeler application, we would be willing to take those batteries back and then deploy those batteries for solar application, because the severity of the battery pack is very high in 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler application, whereas the severity of the application is lower in solar application. So that is why for solar application, we can even use some of these reused battery packs.
Okay. So that is one situation wherein a used battery is being repurposed for another application. Another is, can you basically and let's say after it has been used with the solar application sometimes, what about the end of life in that case? I'm interested about the end of life.
So currently, recycling has not been developed globally. There are companies that are in the process of recycling it. So, but that has not commercially come out as of yet. We are hoping that in the next couple of years, by the time batteries come for recycling, we should have that capability developed. When I say we, it does not necessarily refer to inverted energy, but across the globe.
Got it. So, Nilesh, I understand that you have beautifully explained why lithium is the material of choice. but there are other chemistries also evolving, other evolving chemistries as well. So how do you see lithium placed vis-a-vis other storage technologies?
Gaurav, again, a beautiful question. There are globally a lot of these technologies on which work is going on. For example, vanadium redox batteries, sodium sulfur batteries, people are working on fuel cells. While all of those technologies are under test, under iteration, the only evolved commercially viable technology is lithium-ion batteries. And again, being the energy storage space, we are following all of these technologies very closely, and we would also adapt to these changing technologies once they become commercially viable. So we're not advocates only for lithium-ion batteries. We are just advocates for energy storage technologies. Now, whether that is lithium-ion batteries, whether that is vanadium redox batteries, we just want to promote the popularity of these technologies. So today, since this is the commercially viable technology, we're working on this. But in future, if there are any other technologies which is better equipped, we would sort of move to that.
Absolutely, makes sense. So in English, do inverted batteries also carry the ICAT certification for using EV?
Come again?
Nilesh, my question was, do inverted batteries have ICAT certification for use in EV?
Yes, we do. For two-wheelers and three-wheelers, we do have ICAT certification. For solar batteries, we have IEC certification.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your question answers and for your patience on the call. Please do send in a message for people who are looking to get the presentation. We send it across. And we have another session scheduled tomorrow at 12 p.m. So if you want any of your colleagues, friends to join in, do share the link with them. Thank you so much. Take care.